Hey Doctor Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 330.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect. But actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Hey Who fans, welcome to another week. This is in fact episode 333. So thanks for adding the 3 on there, dude.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I'd misheard. I was like, did he say 3? I couldn't hear it.
What's he going on about?
So, yeah, he could. I thought if he hasn't said it, it's 303,033, which we will be on one day.
I'm sure, yeah. With our brains in jars, still waffling about Doctor.
Yeah, the Marinus jars. I love the thought of that.
Yeah.
Pickled brains in jars, yeah.
Adam's got the sniffles, by the way.
Oh.
He's not well, bless him.
Man flu.
Yeah.
Blimmin' man flu. There won't be any sympathy, though, listeners. Not from Gary. He never does. He never does. Never any sympathy.
No. I normally give my kids 24 hours. It's like you get the, it'll be okay for 24 hours. And after that, it's business as usual. Yep.
Strange. Yeah, I know. I thought I was feeling better as well. I woke up yesterday. I was like, feeling a lot better today. I think I'm shaking it off. And then, oh dear, today it's come back with a vengeance.
That's annoying, you know, when that happens. It's, a bit of a relapse into the old.
No, I got up. I was doing a little dance around the bed. I was like, hey, I'm back.
As Adam's cartwheeling out the door.
Yeah.
And then it hits you again, doesn't it? You get that second wave of unpleasantness.
I this morning, I was like, oh no.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I feel you, dude. I feel you. So you can have some sympathy for the first couple of minutes of the show, and then
that's it. Get myself over to the TARDIS food machine, see if it does penicillin.
Yeah, that'd be all right, wouldn't it?
It's pushing the big buttons. Yeah.
Yep. You need one of those dispensers from any Red Dwarf fans will know what I'm talking about. So on Red Dwarf, there's the vending machines that you can go up to, and they had it in the first couple of series anyway. You just press a button and say what you want. So like coffee or fish.
I vaguely remember it, yeah.
Yeah, so you need one of those, don't you? Medicine. Yep.
Smoke me a kipper, I'll be back for breakfast.
That's
the only line I know for Red Dwarf.
Classic.
Yeah.
Red Dwarf's on the list, you know, of all the podcasts that I want to do. It's on there. Yep.
It's a long list though, isn't it?
Yeah, well before that we've got our Wurzel podcast, and we've got something else we were going to do. We were going to do another one, weren't we? I can't remember what that was.
I wanted to do Blake 7.
Oh, Blake's, yeah.
You only watched 2 episodes, so that's not happening.
I will revisit, dude, when I've got nothing else to watch. I'll revisit.
It's a bit like who is it? What were we talking about the other week? It's like I try not to get offended, but because I love Blake Seven like that. We were saying about people who, if you don't like the same program as them, they then switch off and don't give you the time of day. It's like as soon as someone says they don't like Blake Seven, I'm like, oh, well, goodbye.
See ya. Yeah, bye.
Yeah, thanks. Nice meeting you. Goodbye.
Well, similarly, I'm like that with Red Dwarf, dude.
And Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Was that the other one?
Yeah.
You had someone, the Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Big Tolkien fan, and you just can't waste mental energy dealing with people that don't like that stuff these days. I think it's an age thing, dude. Like, probably if we rewind time 20 years ago and we were talking to people a lot more open-minded and like, oh, you don't like it? Oh, that's fine, blah, blah, blah. But now we're at this age when you get past 40 and it's just like, I don't like that. Okay, we'll buy.
I hate to break it to you, but I'm not a massive Lord of the Rings fan.
I know.
I will watch them. I'm quite happily sit there and watch them, but yeah, not the biggest fan.
Do you know what,
Red
dude?
Dwarf I did used to dip into, though. Yeah, I used to like that at the time.
It's not so much that, dude. Like if you're like, oh, I don't mind a bit of Red Dwarf here and there. I know a few people that haven't even seen it all. They're like, yeah, I don't mind it. I haven't seen it all. That's cool. Or like you just said with Lord of the Rings, you don't. It's the people that are like, I don't like it. I just don't like it. It's not my thing. I don't want to watch it. It's like, okay, see ya.
If anyone ever said that about Wurzel Gummidge, that would be an absolute.
Oh, that would be
a door in the face.
Yeah, that would be a couple of backhanders straight away.
It'd be like what?
Pass me the phone book.
I don't think I've ever had anyone say that.
I don't think so. No.
No, but if anyone ever did.
Yeah. So, social bullying aside. Talk to me about LFCC. Talk to me.
Yeah. It was good, really good. Because I made a very last minute decision to go, as I told you I would. I was, because of the way the cons have been and such uncertainty. And my God, guests were cancelling like left, right, and centre right up until the event. Really late cancellations as well. There was no way I was going to go to that and spend money on train fares and stuff unless I knew. Almost 95% certain that the guests I wanted to meet were going to be there. So I left it right to last second. And on the Friday night, I would have liked to have gone up on the Friday night because it's a 3-day event, but I couldn't afford that. So Friday night, I booked my entry ticket, didn't book any photo shoots at all, was still being really cautious. Went up on the Saturday just to sort of see what it's like. And I really wanted to meet Sacha Dhawan, the master. That was my main goal for the day, really. I wanted to try and keep it simple, not meet too many people. And he was there on the Sunday as well with Joe Martin, and I was hoping to do them both on the Sunday and just go up for the one day. But then, of course, LFCC released their photo schedule, and he was early in the morning. I couldn't get there. I was like, right, going to go up on the Saturday, get Sacha, going to go on the Sunday, get Joe Martin. And that's what I did. And it worked out unbelievably well. I really wasn't sure what the organisation was going to be like. There's been so many issues behind the scenes with Showmasters with not refunding. They now give vouchers. If a photo shoot's cancelled, they don't refund anymore. I'm just like, was so cautious with it all. But I went up on the Saturday, mate. Because of COVID, the numbers are massively reduced. So it was, honestly, the whole weekend was the most pleasant LFCC I've been to. It reminded me, I think you were with me, weren't you? Were you at what was the sort of one that they did early on in the year, like at March time?
The spring one.
The spring one, a couple of years ago, where we both said, didn't we, this is how they should do it. This is nice. It's not oversold. We're not just crammed full of people. If you saw any of the photos in that, you'll notice that, the numbers there were massively reduced. So it was just, you could actually walk round, you know what I mean? You weren't sort of crushed against other people. You could walk round. The amount of guests there were practically halved. So you weren't rushing around trying to get to different photos. Just the stress was just completely taken out of it this year. I have to say, because of COVID, really, because everything had to be scaled back. And it was just so nice, mate. Honestly, I just had a couple of photo shoots each day. In fact, on the Sunday, I only had one. And I just walked around and I was getting to meet people and just chat. And because you know what I'm like, I'm normally darting about like a madman at night to try, I can't stop, I've got to get to a photo shoot. None of that. I was just like, yeah, I've got a photo shoot in an hour. I'll just have a little wander around. I actually got to see some of the stalls. Met some guys come up to me to say how much they enjoy the podcast as well. So shout out to you guys if you came up. I know there's a chap called Simon who I hung around with for most of Saturday. Hello, Simon. Yeah, so it's really nice, people coming up and just having a chat. And got to meet Sacha Dwan, absolutely lovely guy who sat with his dad. And this is the other thing. Normally, you can get your photo shoots booked, but trying to get an autograph, you get that silly queuing ticket, don't you? And half the time, you never actually manage to get to the number on your ticket, so you don't get to get an autograph. None of that. I was just like straight up to meet Sacha, pretty much. I had about 3 people in front of me, and there was a few people. It's just like this is what I mean. It was just so nice. I actually got to get an autograph at this event, which was something new. So yeah, got to meet Sacha, really nice. And then on the Sunday, got to meet Jo Martin, Fugitive Doctor. All I can say is she was just absolutely brilliant. I got a photo shoot with her. I managed to get her autograph. It seemed a little bit busier on the Sunday actually, but not too much. And she was brilliant, mate. Honestly, she was so much fun. And in the morning, because of the blooming trains, I missed most of it. But her and Sacha did a Doctor Who panel, and I managed to catch the last 15 minutes. I think I missed about 20 minutes, but what I saw, those two together were hilarious. I mean, they were really bringing the house down. And I'm not sure if this is Jo's first big con. I got the feeling it was her first big convention. I think somebody said it was anyway, but she just seemed to be loving it, and she was really going down well with the crowd and really interacting with the crowd well. And her and Sacha together just made a great pairing. There was a lot of banter on stage and stuff like that. So it was a brilliant weekend. I think I said to you, last week I was thinking of going, but I wasn't sure what to expect and whether to even bother with it, and all that sort of thing. But I'm so glad I went. It was a really good weekend. Yeah, and those guys were great to meet as well.
That sounds awesome, dude. Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, it sounds very weird to say this, but in a way, COVID has sort of helped manage the number of people in these kind of events, I suppose. So obviously you wouldn't want COVID in any shape or form in the world, of course, but as a result of it, it has limited the numbers in these venues. So it does feel a little bit more relaxed and not as much of a, like sardines in a can, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, compared to previous years, it was, definitely like that. And also you had to show proof of double vaccination or a 48-hour lateral flow test to get in.
Nice.
So there were safety precautions in there, and people were wearing masks, I would say, but some weren't. It was a bit 50-50, but yeah, it felt like there was plenty of room to just keep away from people, which was good. I almost forgot you. I did also meet Tommy Knight and Anjali Mahindra. Never sure if I say her name right. So Luke and Rani from the Sarah Jane Adventures, of course.
They cool?
And yes, they were. They were really, because Anjali, if that's how you say her name, sorry, she's dating Sacha at the minute, so they kept popping over to each other's tables and talking to each other and stuff. So it's cool to see those guys just wandering around. But no, they were both really, really nice. And Tom is like, because we're so used to seeing him as this sort of fresh-faced teenager, it's really weird to see him now all like he's sort of turned into sort of a grungy teenager. He's got like the big woolly hat on and stubble and stuff, and it's like, who's this? So, but he was cool. He's a bit of a dude now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, bit of a dude. But yeah, both those guys are really nice. I got a photo shoot with them as well. So yeah. So it's all good, mate.
That sounds awesome, man. Yeah.
There's a lot of Star Wars. There's a lot of Star Wars stalls there. You'd have liked it. There was loads of Star Wars stuff. Of course, there was a million Funko Pops as well. But there was a lot of Black Series Star Wars figures downstairs. Yeah. You'd have liked it.
Nice. I wonder if the spring event for LFCC will be any good.
Yeah. Well, now, I mean, I know they're going to keep ramping up and getting busier and busier. But after this weekend's experience, I am now more tempted to go to them. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. We'll see. We shall see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
A nice one, dude. So yeah, that my week of Who pales in comparison, because I haven't done anything. Not done anything Who-y compared to yours. So I'm glad you had a good time though, dude. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's always good to hang out. There's a lot of cosplayers and stuff there, as you'd expect. So that's always good. Yeah, took a million pictures. I finally got a new phone. Hooray!
Oh,
I finally got storage. Finally got storage. I was filming, and it was like it's like I'd got got freedom. I was in my element. I was. Yeah, I did a bit of filming and took about 1,000 pictures. And
for those of you that if you're listening, and of course you're listening, but if you've not heard us talk about Adam's memory woes before, this is a big relief for all of us, because not only does Adam get miffed off when we're at an event or out somewhere and he's like, I've only taken 1,000 photos so far. Now I've run out of memory and I can't take any more. We all hear about it for a little while.
I'll have to keep deleting all my apps. And like Gary's like, "Oh, I've sent you a message on Messenger." I said, "Oh no, I've deleted that. I've run out of storage. But I delete Messenger." So now, I mean, God knows how long it'll take me to fill up this phone. Probably a week. But yes, I finally got extra storage.
Good.
Yeah, which is good for future cons. Yeah,
indeedy. Yeah. Okay, dude. Before we crack on and update you guys on what's going on with ratings and synopsis for some upcoming episodes and whatnot, remember to follow our podcast in whatever podcast app you listen to your podcast on. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast, or head over to the website bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. There are links there at the top of the website to nip off to all of the big ones, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Google, all that stuff. We're on all that. So if you can't find us, head over to the website. And on the website, you can read all the reviews and articles from our amazing writing team, which is very good. Maria is giving us her thoughts on Flux as well. So as the dust has settled even further from when we do it, she's doing a bit of a deep dive into those each episode. So go and check those out. They're very cool. And we've got some Big Finish reviews as always. So go and check that stuff out. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Again, just do a search for us, or there are links on the website. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week, so come and get involved over there. And we have a free Discord server as well. So pop over there. It takes 30 seconds to sign up, and you can wax lyrical with lots of other Doctor Who fans about all sorts of Who. Obviously, the discussion is very fluxy at the moment, but there are lots of conversation around conventions, collectibles, classic Who, Big Finish. It's all there, so come and get involved. And also check out my co-host channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yes. Go and have a look at my videos. I was planning to finish filming one, but that's not going to happen. I've half started filming a vid on the new Doctor Who calendars and what we're getting this year, and I've done half of it, and I was going to finish it today, but yeah, I can't. There'll be a continuity error. My voice will go from being normal to this. It'd be like, what happened?
Husky Adam. Yep.
Yeah. So I may leave that till later.
Yeah. Fortunately, there's tons of other cool videos there.
Oh, there's loads of other cool videos. Go and have a look at those. Yeah.
And Adam's on the socials too, under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. So come and give him a like and a follow. And we'll all chat geekiness throughout the week. It's all good. So ratings, Birdie.
Hit me with the figures.
Right, so let's touch upon Chapter 3 first of all. So Once Upon Time. That was consolidated. I think the overnights for that one was about 3.6 something, if I remember correctly. Yeah. When you take the consolidated figures into account for the week, Chapter 3 was totaled at 4.67 million viewers. Okay. That sounds pretty decent. Now, we have to mention this, that is the lowest. That's the lowest 7-day consolidated rating since the show returned in 2005.
Oh dear.
It's not all doom and gloom though.
Okay.
It's not all doom and gloom, because when you take that into context with all of the other programming for that particular week, Doctor Who was the 19th most watched show of all British television. So it's not bad considering there's, a lot of British TV across many, many channels. So while it's not amazing, of course, it's nowhere near where we'd like it to be. It's still not, you have to pick the positives out, I suppose. It's not terrible. So that was Once Upon Time consolidated. The overnight figures for Village of the Angels was 3.45 million. So again, that's another drop from last week. Kind of expected though, because here in the UK, there's a very popular program that goes out on ITV called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which always starts mid to the end of November, and that's a big old ratings pull. That one, that's over 8 million viewers watching that one. So that's in the same league as like your Strictly's and your X Factors and all that kind of stuff here in the UK. So we expected there'll be a little bit of a decline, more so from Doctor Who for the overnights because of that show coming back. So yeah, it's but we spoke about this back when we started doing Chapter 1 a few weeks ago. We knew that the opening episode would be relatively good, but then you always get that mid-series dip as they start to trail off and stuff. And I imagine for the finale, which is next week, unbelievably, for the finale, there'll be a little spike as people see how it's going to wrap up and lead into the festive special. So, yeah, that's the rating stuff.
Okie dokie. Yes. Yeah. Talking of the festive special, we've actually been given a little synopsis for that. So they've released this cool picture of the TARDIS with is it cracks in the TARDIS or is it vines around the TARDIS? I don't know. But the TARDIS
looks like gouges, big scratches to me.
Yeah. Yes. It doesn't look too well, but like myself. But it looks a bit damaged. And the little synopsis, and it is little, it's very brief, so brief that I couldn't even find it when Gary sent it to me earlier. I was like, well, where is the synopsis? Sarah owns and runs Elf Storage, and Nick is a customer who visits his unit every year on New Year's Eve. This year, however, their night turns out to be a little different than planned. Now, I haven't bothered reading the actors' names because I can't pronounce them. So, I don't know. But what a rubbish synopsis.
I'm not sure if that's the final one.
Excited.
I'm really not sure if that's the final synopsis, dude.
Let me know, not.
Yeah, basically, these two characters are going to have a weird night. That's your lot.
That's your lot. Storage unit, Elf Storage. I'm assuming Daleks are going to be in storage, and I don't know.
Daleks in storage. Could be, I don't know. Could be Ood in storage. Who knows?
Or it could be an Ood.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be something like that, isn't it? But yeah, I'm sure we'll get a better synopsis than that, I would hope, as we get closer to the festive special, which is, they've put the date on the TARDIS poster, which is the 1st of the 1st, 2022, which looks pretty cool. So
yeah, have you also
at least we know when it is?
That date that's on the image, the 22, the top part of each of the number 2 is joined together in a little infinity symbol.
Is it? Oh,
so that looks
I've literally just shut the window.
Oh,
I literally just got rid of, so I can't see it, but that's okay. I'll have a look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the TARDIS does not look good. I think the TARDIS needs a well-earned rest after all of this. It's not faring well. No,
it doesn't look too well at all. Just before we smash into the review, mate, just to mention, obviously, Abominable Snowmen animated's been announced as well. You up for this? You getting this one?
Yeah. I've always liked this, the concept of this story.
Yeah, I've always loved good story. This one.
Yeah. I've always, there's something about the Yeti, and all that. It's just got that classic Troughton-y feel to it, and yeah, when I think about the Troughton era, that's usually the first thing that pops into my head as well, is either the moon-based Cybermen or it's the Yeti. So yeah, I'm up for this one, dude. The animation looks really cool as well. Very cool.
Is it the same guys who did Galaxy 4 and Fury?
I think so, yeah. Could be wrong, but I think so.
Yeah, I think it is. I wasn't a fan of Fury, but I liked it in Galaxy 4. It's a 6-parter. I would have, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it does look good. I like the little trailer they've released. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks good. So some cool stuff to look forward to then. Got the festive special, as always, New Year's Day. And then it doesn't say when next year this is going to land, because on some websites it just says the release date for the Abominable Snowmen is New Year's Day or the 31st December. But I don't think it's going to be then. I think it's some point next year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
hopefully we'll get another nice steelbook.
Yes.
I'm sure we will.
Oh, there is a steelbook, yeah. But we haven't got the artwork yet.
Oh, right, yeah, cool.
Yeah, so you can pre-order the Blu-ray and the steelbook and the DVD and stuff, but it's just temporary artwork at the minute. Rightio. Let's crack on with our review this week, dude. What we got?
So, yes, what episode are we on now? So this must be part 4, right? Part 4
correct.
Of Doctor Who Flux, and it's called Village of the Angels.
Can you state your name, please?
Claire Brown.
We're missing a little girl.
Was that Scarecrow there a minute ago?
Jericho, wait!
Everyone in the village disappears on the 21st of November, 1967. Tonight.
It's happening again.
Angels, creepy.
Don't blink.
Chapter 4 then of Flux, Village of the Angels, was broadcast on 21st of November, not too long ago. It was written by Chris Chibnall and Maxine Alderton, directed by Jamie Magnus Stone, and stars Jodie Whittaker, Mandip Gill and John Bishop. And the synopsis on this one is, at the end of the previous chapter, Once Upon a Time, the cliffhanger was an angel had got into the TARDIS and was controlling it and stuff. So we pick up, obviously, directly from there at the start of this one, where the Doctor reboots the TARDIS essentially to try and remove the angel, and they land in 1967 in a little village called Mediton, I believe. And they come across a character that we had seen in the first episode, which is Diane. And
Diane, yeah.
She was zapped by the angel in the first episode and sent back to, conveniently, back to this this date in time, 21st November 67. And there's a dude there that's doing some sort of psychic experiments to find out what's wrong with her, because she keeps having these episodes. This is Professor Jericho. And once the Doctor and Yaz and Dan sort of split up and see what's going on, kind of splits off into two trails, really. You have Dan and Yaz, they get zapped back to 1901. Same village and everything, same location, just different time, where they meet up with little Peggy, who went missing, obviously, earlier on. And then they bump into future self Peggy. There's a bit of a paradox thing going on there. And then the Doctor teams up with Yaz and Claire, and they're being hunted down and tracked down by the angels, because it turns out that one of the angels went rogue and hid itself within Claire's mind, because she's a seer, apparently, and she had a premonition of the angel. Because we know how that works, the angel materialized or manifested itself physically within her mind, so it's controlling her. But the longer it stays in her mind, she's becoming an angel, essentially. So the Doctor goes into her mind, finds out that this rogue angel is on the run. It's got some highly classified information about the division, which we then find out is all these angels are part of what's called an extraction squad, who have actually been employed by the division to go after this rogue angel. But then there's a little bit of a twist at the end where this rogue angel gets a better deal, really. It's like, actually, I can hand over the Doctor to the angels and they'll let me go instead of... Yeah, so a little wee bit timey-wimey, not too bad, this one, but yeah, the angels are definitely back in full force. So what did you reckon, dude, to this one?
Yes, I, for the most part, really enjoyed this one. There's a lot about it I liked, and there's a couple of things I wasn't too sure about. Normally, I like to watch an episode twice to really get a feel for it. Technically, I have watched this twice, but only once properly. So after LFCC, of course, we went to the pub, and they had it on the TV. And we were like, oh no, what are we going to do? So we sort of turned our backs on it. We couldn't hear it because the sound was off. It was on the with the subtitles. But of course, it's a bit like, it's a bit like the angel. You just can't help but sort of turn your head. So we sort of ended up watching bits of it. So I kind of got to see it in the pub without hearing it. And everything I could see, I was just like, this looks brilliant, this episode. I'm like, I said, I know we said we're trying not to watch it, but all of us agreed that, we kind of ended up just sort of staring at the screen and watching it without any sound. And it just looked brilliant. So I was really looking forward to watching this. And then I actually waited till the following evening to watch it properly. And I loved the sort of feel of it, the sort of darkness. And I thought the angels were good in it. It's hard to find new things to do with the Weeping Angels, I think. And, and I think that's why some stories, they haven't been as good as Blink. It's Blink still stands up, I think, as one of their best stories. But I think they tried to do some new things with them, like the Fireplace Angel and the angel coming out of the TV and stuff like that. And I liked all that stuff. And the hands coming out of the wall at the end and everything was just pure classic horror and brilliant. So I liked the story. And I liked the angels in it. The Bell and Vinder bits, I felt they were a bit clunky. I don't know, they sort of took me away from the story a bit. I'm not sure they quite worked in terms of the flow of this episode, especially the strange post-credit scene we got. That was just bizarre. But it was, overall it's good. I have to say, I've got to get this out of the way though. When I watched it with the sound on, the one thing that really brought this episode down for me was Jodie's performance. All the way she was written as being back to bouncing off the walls and being zany, and it really irritated me in this episode because I've really started to warm to Jodie's Doctor over the course of Flux, and I like the fact she's slightly toned it down. And to me, this felt like she'd gone straight back to almost Series 11, annoying Doctor, and because the episode was quite dark and it had a much more serious feel to it, and all the rest of the cast were taking it so seriously, having that and Jodie in the middle of it just bouncing around, being all coming out of all this jargon and so hyper, it was really beginning to grate on me, and that kind of annoyed me a little bit because I was enjoying the majority of the episode, but I wouldn't say she ruined it for me, but yeah, I just thought, oh no, she's been so good the last couple of episodes, and they seem to have sort of toned down her performance to a slightly more serious Doctor, and I felt if there was an episode that needed the Doctor to be more serious and in charge, this was it. And instead they just wrote her to be all silly and dippy again, and I'm like, oh, that was a shame, I thought, because it was a good episode, and I think if the Doctor had been really strong in it, it would have been a real classic. So yeah, that's really one of the few things that just sort of let it down for me. But overall, I'm not saying she was terrible in it, I just think, God, it kind of like so close to being such a good episode, and yeah, I just felt like she didn't quite hit the mark for me this week. She's back to being all gobbledygook talk and funny and silly faces. Just the performance wasn't there for me this week for the Doctor, and she's the main character. She should be the best thing in it, not the thing that's taken me out of the story, if that makes sense. Like the rest of the cast were absolutely on point. I mean, Kevin McNally as Jericho was just brilliant. The whole cast I thought were really good this week, but yeah, Jodie took me out of the story a bit by being so OTT when the rest of the cast were taking it or were written to be so much more serious. So that was just one of the negatives, really. But overall, I thought it was a good episode. I liked it.
Good. Glad you like this one, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I'm a bit... yeah. It's unpopular opinion,
on the fence,
I think.
Are you?
Well, no, I'm not sure I'm into this one, mate.
Oh, really? I thought you liked this one.
Yeah. This is going to be... I know our dear listener is now going to be like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm not into it, mate, if I'm being honest with you.
I am surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are some things I liked about it, definitely. However, I think overall... I'll tell you what it's like, dude, for me. There was just too much. It was just too much.
Too much going on again.
Yeah, I couldn't enjoy the reason why, for me anyway, the Weeping Angels work so well is because in the just few episodes that we've seen of them thus far, they've always had this real menacing feel to them where it's a little bit like those sort of action-y treading on the fringe horror films from the 90s and stuff like Predator and Terminator, where it doesn't let up throughout the whole film. There's a constant danger, something always hunting you or, following you, whatever. And we had that with Blink and, and some other, another couple of Weeping Angel stories where there's like a silent thing that's not silent, but there's something that's after you, sort of thing, and it will never let up. You can't just bash it with a hammer, or wave the sonic and away you go, sort of thing. But for me, it felt like, well, two things really. The first one was it was just non-stop bombardment, like for pretty much the entire episode. After the first 10 minutes had gone by and the angels started to appear in the village and stuff, and they started surrounding Jericho's house and all that stuff. It was just non-stop, like the angels are on screen so much. And for me, that just took away the what made them cool in the first place. So I kind of liken it to when people remake old horror films. So old horror films back in the 70s and 80s and stuff, the pacing was really relaxed and it relied more on atmosphere and suspense for the most part and stuff like that. And then when you fast forward to the 20, 30 years later when they do a remake, it's all very action paced and it's real quick and in your face. And that can work at times, but I feel like in this one, I just didn't have a chance to appreciate how cool the angels are because they were just slammed in your face like every 2 minutes. And there was so many times, I don't know what was going on with the direction in this one or how it was edited together. I can't decide which way round it was or both, but all of the rules that apply. So that's one of the important things, I think, when you have, because with Daleks, it doesn't really matter. You can push the envelope and play with it a little bit. So in the old days, all of the sets that were built for a classic episode featuring the Daleks were all flat and smooth because they needed to, wheel around the set, and that was it. Fast forward to modern day TV making and storytelling. If there's a flight of stairs, it just so happens that the Daleks can float upstairs. You can play with it a little bit. With the Angels, though, I feel like there's a very definite rule that applies, and we all know that rule is that when they're observed, they can't move, and that really is like the anchor for what makes them cool in whatever episode you put them in. There were so many scenes in this one where, ironically, the Doctor's bellowing at people, "Don't blink, don't do that," and the Angels are just moving freely, willy-nilly, even when they're being looked at. They're moving around. There was about 3 or 4 scenes where I noticed it.
Yeah.
Like in the tunnel towards the end, where the flashlight's going out and stuff like that. There's a couple of scenes, and this is what I mean. I don't know if it's where it was edited or directed this way. I don't know, but there's a couple of scenes where all 3 of them are just looking in different directions. They're not even looking down the tunnel, yet the Angels are still moving around, and they're, so that really pulled me out of, the appeal of that. So that's for me, dude. It's like it was too much. The Angels are scary when they're not in your face. When there's that looming constant thing, like, are the Angels going to be around this corner? And there was a scene that I thought was going to do that, where Yaz and Dan walk into this field and they see the Scarecrow off in the distance. I was like,
oh yeah,
wow, that looks creepy as hell. That's cool. They're going to, but that didn't last very long. And
that was a good scene, wasn't it? Yeah, I thought that was going to build to something. I mean, that was reminded me of like Human Nature, Family of the Blood. I don't know if it was intentional, but that when he said, "Oh, who put that Scarecrow?" Was that Scarecrow there a minute ago? And you're like, "Oh, that's no Scarecrow." That was cool, and it looked, didn't it, very sort of Hammer horror with the mist coming across the hilltops and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was over within. I was going to say within the blink of an eye, but it was just over very quickly. But yeah, I know what you mean. You wanted more of those sort of atmospheric scenes, you mean, rather than just sort of all the stuff going on in the house where there's loads of them and they're all coming up the stairs and bashing down the doors and all that
exactly that, mate. It was it just felt like it was okay as you're watching the episode, and I think what's kind of happening here, and we've seen this quite a few times throughout Flux so far, and that is the motive, I guess, and the direction that Chris Chibnall has given to all the the couple of directors that are doing this series and stuff. It's like we can't give the viewer any kind of time to breathe. Every episode has got to be a full-on, in-your-face, action-paced. We can't give them any excuse to complain about slow pacing, basically. That feels like what they've gone for. And for the most part, I don't mind that, because especially with what we're dealing with in this series, it kind of fits that well. It's got that high energy sort of pace, which is cool. But I think especially now we're in like that mid, smack bang in the middle of the season, or series, should I say, it would have done really. I think it would have been really good to slow everything down and use the Angels really effectively, like they have been used in previous episodes, sort of thing. So.
Maybe take the foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do know what you mean. And I wonder, I was thinking about this actually, because it is another episode where it's very full on, doesn't really stop or have any time to breathe. Once again, we're having new characters thrown into the mix as well. Still not really getting any answers to the questions about Flux as well. So we're sort of, we've only got 2 episodes left. There's still a lot to wrap up, isn't there? And I was wondering about the fact that there's so much going on. I mean, especially last week where it was just everything was thrown in. And I was thinking, do you think that any of this is down to the fact that the series was cut from 8 episodes to 6? Do you think that's had some sort of impact on the fact that, okay, we've only got 6 now, we've really, because this was originally supposed to be 8 episodes, wasn't it, this series?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think, I'm not sure, but I just wondered if maybe, because they had to cut the series down, they've really had to condense it. And that may be why it's feeling like, wow, they're really throwing everything at us each week. I don't know. Because we're on episode 4 now, and there really hasn't been much time to stop and breathe at all, has there? It's been really like boom, 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 one scene after another, and it's all go, which is great. But yeah, there's not been a lot of breathing space at all, and there's certainly not been many answers yet to a lot of the stuff that's been thrown in there. So yeah, I'm really hoping this is all going to pan out. I think that's the thing. We've got 2 episodes. I just hope that all this stuff that's intriguing and it's all good, but yeah, I hope it all has a good payoff.
I hope so.
Yeah, because it's starting to feel like it's just all being spewed out really quickly. I don't know.
I think we're going to get half of these things answered.
That's what I'm worried about.
And I think we're going to get the other bits answered throughout the festive special and the other 2 specials that are out next year. I think, I don't think all of the things that have happened so far since the beginning of this Flux series, everything around Swarm and Azure and the Flux itself and Vinda and all that stuff, I think some of it's going to be resolved by the end of the series. Next Sunday, and I think they're going to have some carryover into the festive special and other stuff. There has to be. You can't just I can't see them wrapping everything up in 2 episodes in a nice little bow. There you go, that was Flux, and then the festive special and the other ones are just like creature feature episodes just to pass the year. I can't see that, but
I hope 2 things. I hope it has a good payoff, all this stuff. It doesn't need to answer all the questions, but I hope by the end of this series there's a good payoff for everything that we've seen, and I hope it's a good final, because this series really is anchoring on a good finish, isn't it? It's anchoring on the final being a real wow. That was you want to get to the end of this series and say that episode has tied stuff up nicely, maybe not everything, but that was a good end to this series. I think actually what I'm trying to say is it's got to be satisfying.
Oh, absolutely.
The final, otherwise this whole series I think will fall apart on a rewatch if the final isn't satisfying.
Yeah, and also it started off really strong, didn't it? I mean, it's still going very strong. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it is.
This is some of the best Who that Jibbers has written, and it's some of the best stuff that Jodie's done for the most part. And I do agree with you actually on her performance in this one.
I was going to ask you if you did. Yeah, because I wouldn't like to think it's just me being, because sometimes I just find her irritating anyway. But yeah, did you think she'd gone back to being a bit written to be that sort of zany, It felt like Series 11, Jodie, to me.
Yeah, because we've seen a real different side to her, I think, for the most part. She's been really much stronger than she has been in the last 2 series that she was in, and it was especially the War of the Centaurans episode.
Yeah, I really liked her in that.
She was really good, and even actually the first one, if I'm being honest, the first episode she was not too bad. But yeah, there were a few scenes in this one where it was like that silly, quick, babbly, talky. There was a few, especially when she was around Professor Jericho and Claire and stuff.
Yes.
She did a lot of that, and there's still a lot of Sonic going on as well, isn't there? There's a lot of.
What is she looking at on that Sonic as well? And she's doing it all the time now, where she does a reading and looks at the side of it. There's no readout on that Sonic. What is she looking at? that annoys me as well. And there was a lot of that.
Yeah. There was some good things in this though. Actually,
mostly good for me. Anyway,
so one more thing I didn't like was the voice of the angel as well. I think that's just another thing that just takes you away from the mystery of the angels. When she goes into Claire's mind, and you've got the rogue angel standing behind Claire, and it's talking through Claire basically, but it's like a different voice. It's the angel's voice. I wasn't really too cool with that either. It would have been better for me anyway if we just had when that first experiment that Professor Jericho was doing on Claire, and Claire's sort of pupils dilate, and then she almost has this kind of horror film possessed sort of thing coming out of it. It would have been cool to just maintain that. So every time the angel was speaking, it was when Claire was being overtaken or possessed by the angel. So when you actually saw the angel, even though it wasn't moving and its voice and stuff, you know, that's just another step towards understanding what the angels are like and stuff. And I don't want to know. That's the thing about the angels. I don't want to know anything about them. I just want them to be scary, mysterious and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, the voice as well, because there was a bit when Professor Jericho was sort of almost having a conversation with Angel towards the end. Do you remember? I think it breaks through the door or something. And I was like, I wasn't sure what was happening there. I was like, because we've never heard an angel talk before, have we?
No, I don't think so.
Because it was actually talking, and I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be. I was like, oh, is it using another human's voice to do that, or is that the angel talking? I didn't quite understand what was going on there, but I did feel it was odd to hear an angel actually speaking. But yeah, do you know, was it talking through someone at that point, or was that just the angel talking? Or was it just the angel inside the professor's head? Or I didn't really know what was going on that bit.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, because the doctor had rigged up some kind of camera that was fed into the TV that they were in the basement. So as the angels are banging on the door and she's told him to just stare at the screen so that they can't move. The voice comes from somewhere. I don't know if it's amplifying any of the equipment that's in the basement.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Or if the angel's speaking directly into his mind. I wasn't sure. But
talking of not sure, even though I quite enjoyed this episode, I will be honest, and maybe again this is why I needed to watch it another time really, but I'll be honest, I didn't quite understand some of the stuff going on. I didn't really get the overall story on this one, and nor did my partner, who was just bemused by it, quite frankly. So I always sort of take, my partner as the sort of average viewer and what they will think of things and stuff. But yeah, I myself, even though I enjoyed it, I did get to the end of it and think I still really don't know what was going on in that story, like why they were trying to break into the professor's house and the stuff with Diane and the doctor. And I don't know. I know I liked it, but I didn't really understand it. But maybe that's because I need to give it another watch. I don't know. But did you get the overall story of like what was going on? Like there is a lot of back and forth, isn't there? Like the worlds being split in two, and little Peggy meeting future Peggy, and the doctor was lured there, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And the two old people, who I did like, by the way, what were they called? Grumpy old so and so that got zapped by the angel.
Yeah, was it Gerald and Jean?
Yeah,
I think
Gerald and Jean.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, they were sort of going back and forth, but they didn't seem to be too. So they got zapped by an angel, but then the next thing they know, they're just like, oh, when did it get light? And they don't seem too bothered about it. I was like, I don't know. There were bits of this that were a bit confusing, I thought. But when Gerald was going to pick up the angel, it's like, yeah, right. It's like, let's get this thing back to the church. Yeah, you're going to lift that, Gerald.
Yeah.
Silly old fool,
yeah. Yeah, I think for the most part, I think I understood what was going on. So the reason why the TARDIS had taken over the TARDIS, the reason why an angel had taken over the TARDIS at the end of the last episode was because it needed the Doctor's help. So this is before the end of this episode, where it still needed the Doctor's help. And I think in exchange for the Doctor's help, it had some information on the Doctor's memories.
That's right.
Back when the whole timeless child thing. I think all of the other angels, this extraction squad, they had basically said, look, if you give us the Doctor, then, you're free to go, or no punishment, whatever that ends up being. So the rogue angel sort of pulls the rug from under the Doctor and was like, well, I needed your help, but now I don't, because I can give them you, and you're...
So has the angel made a deal with the division?
I think so, yeah. So that was they're
not working for the division.
They are.
They are working.
They are, yeah. So they've been so this group of angels, they've been employed by the division to hunt down this rogue angel, because this rogue angel has all the information about the division, basically the Doctor and the timeless child, which is why the division was set up in the first place.
Because they said something about you've been recalled or something, wasn't
That's right, yeah.
So, I thought that in the first place, and I thought, oh no, that can't be right. The angels wouldn't be working for the division, but but it turns out they are. Okay, right.
Yeah. Yes. And so what
How
was
do you make a deal with an angel? Like, they can't be the easiest person to negotiate with. All right, mate, we're the division. How does that work? How do you talk to an angel?
Yeah.
Not sure about that.
Not sure on that one. But yeah, probably a business card. Yeah. Fax. Yeah.
Yeah, business card, brilliant.
All the angels are just sat around having a cup of tea. Just a fax has just come through. It's a job. It pays pretty well. Should we have a look? Go on him. Something about the Doctor, right? Get your coat. Come on.
There's a deleted scene I'd love to see.
Yeah. So that's, I kind of understood for the main what was going on. And then the whole thing around, there was 2 times 2 years, which were very prevalent in the story. So 1967, 1901, that was the sort of newspapers they were reading. And, because Claire's like, it's a disaster in this village. Basically, everyone disappears, which is tonight, which is 1967. The angels zap them back to 1901. And so those times were very prevalent, which explains why Peggy saw her future self, because, her future self was still alive, obviously, as an old lady, Mrs. Hayward, in 67, and Peggy. And they have that thing where the divide, where it's night in the village, but daytime for Daz and Jan and Peggy, small Peggy. And that's because the angels had removed the village out of space and time. So there wasn't that... you couldn't just walk through the village in a different time zone and not be aware of anything. It's actually, 2 separate chunks in the time stream, I suppose.
Which is pretty cool. I like the fact they made
cool.
the date November 21st as well, the date it was aired. I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, that was quite cool.
Yeah,
that was cool. So, so like I said earlier, there were quite a few things that I did like. There were some positives this episode for sure. So one of those things was the Dan and Yaz, when they get zapped back, they had this very I like the dynamic where Dan's still kind of learning this stuff. He's still experiencing all this stuff for the first time, so he's like quite worried actually. He's like, are we going to be able to get back? Yeah, she's a bit more comfortable. I think she's got a little bit of a, what's the phrase, she feels like there's a bit of a safety blanket, because she knows that ultimately the Doctor's going to save them at some point. They just need to get through however long they're going to be in this time zone. But she's quietly confident, I think, that the Doctor will turn up at some point and rescue them. Whereas Dan, he's never had this before. Not knowingly anyway. So in the last episode, where everything went completely bonkers and Dan was in various different times and stuff. I think to him, he wasn't aware that time was changing. There was the odd little thing where it was like, was it night a second ago, or why are we here, sort of thing. But he can't really explain it. He doesn't know exactly why that's happening, what's going on. Whereas this one, he knows 100% that they've been zapped back in time and there's no way back. So for him, this is like new territory, like crap, kind of stranded here, aren't we? Yeah. So that was very cool. And I like the little Peggy, she's trying to figure out what's going on, and they're having an investigation and stuff. And then they find that big, as well as the divide where the village is in future time, which is night time, and they can still communicate and stuff. But when they go the other way and they try and leave the village, there's just that edge of the world, it feels like, where space is everywhere. And so that looks awesome. Yeah, that looks very cool.
Yeah, I liked all that. I liked the setting as well. That felt quite old school Doctor Who to me. The village itself was a little bit sort of demon-esque, wasn't it, with the church and all that, and the sort of I really liked the setting of all of that stuff. Made it quite creepy with the vicar and everything at the beginning. Yeah, it
kind of it also had this episode felt like it was really heavily borrowing from other episodes of Who that we'd already seen.
Yeah, I did think that.
Did you think that? So the whole thing with Professor Jericho doing the whole experiments and stuff, that felt very, very similar to, I think it was Hyde. Was it Hyde?
Hyde, yes.
That Matt Smith, the Doctor and Clara, when they go to that haunted house, and there's that professor played by that Scottish actor, what's his name? Dougray Scott. And he's doing experiments, and that his girlfriend or wannabe girlfriend is psychic and all that, and it felt really similar. And then the angels, obviously, because we've not seen them a dime a dozen like we do with the Daleks and stuff. It's easy to sort of take your memory back and think like, oh yeah, this is, feels quite similar to other episodes with the Angels, apart from the whole hearing them speak and all that stuff.
And also they did say, I think, again, a rewatch would confirm this, but I think when Gerald and Jean was zapped a second time, they were killed, because I think they said something like, oh, you if you see an angel twice, you're dead or something. That's new, isn't it? I've never heard that before. If an angel zaps you twice, the second time you're dead.
I think so. Yeah, I think. Well, it was never. I don't think that was ever specified in all the previous episodes with the Angels. I'm pretty sure the only information that we ever got was they'll zap you back in time and then feed off that time energy. It's the whole point of them doing that.
Oh, as I've written it down, no one survives it twice. I think that's the line. Yeah, which is I think is new. I've never heard that said before.
I think so. I'm pretty sure we've not seen that before. But that was cool though.
Yeah,
that was very cool, and the way that they died as well was very sort of MCU Thanos-y with the snap.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah, that was cool though.
And then Peggy was like, he was horrible to me anyway. And my other half went, oh, what ungrateful little brat.
Yeah, those two were pretty cool, actually, Gerald and Jean. They were... that was almost like an adventure in space and time, there are a few scenes with Hartnell, David Bradley's Hartnell at the beginning. He's always snapping at his granddaughter and stuff. And
oh, yeah, I really thought of it like that.
And they almost dressed the same as well. And... yeah, so it felt like Chibbers and Maxine Alderton were like, shall we watch a lot of Doctor? Let's just binge watch all the Who we can in the run up to writing the story and scripts and stuff. And they just post-it notes everywhere like, yeah, that episode had that bit in it, so we'll borrow that. This episode, we'll borrow that bit and we'll do that bit. And yeah, so that's another thing as well. There wasn't much in terms of, I think they were trying to be original with things, like with the Angels' voices and this You Never Survive Twice and stuff. They were trying to be original, but yeah.
You still felt they borrowed quite heavily.
They borrowed a lot from other episodes, or well, at least the themes anyway. The themes of other episodes. But yeah, I mean, the stuff with Jericho in the basement and stuff, that was all quite cool. It was good that, the Doctor went in there and she was, really impressed with all the equipment and stuff. And it was funny when the Doctor said, I'm going to go into your mind, do you give me permission, sort of thing. And then Jericho put those two sort of brainwave monitors on their heads and stuff, and just started experimenting anyway.
See, I quite like the stuff in the beach, on the beach when she was talking to the angel. But I think it sounds to me like you didn't particularly like that. But was it just the fact you didn't like the angel talking?
Yeah. Otherwise, it was cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I liked it more in a visual sense. I thought it looked pretty cool with the sea sort of parted and all the stuff going on there, and everyone looking quite windswept. I remember seeing filming pics of that, don't you?
Yes.
We were saying, God, what a day to record that. It really looked like it was lashing down with rain and stuff. So I quite liked all that sort of stuff. What did you think of the bell? And obviously we got a new character introduced. What was he called? Played by the guy from In-Betweeners.
Namaka, played by Blake Harrison.
Yeah.
He was cool,
Yeah, I like him. I mean, I think he's a great actor anyway. I've seen him pop up in other stuff, obviously, apart from In-Betweeners, but more serious roles. He was brilliant in the Hugh Grant thing. What was that called? It was English Scandal or whatever. He's great. Yeah. He plays the reporter in that. He's brilliant. So, yeah, he's a good actor, and I think it was a good character. I was expecting him to be in it a bit more, I think, but... yeah, what do you think of all the Bell stuff and the thing with Azure appearing on the cliff top and Passenger was back and all that? And did that sort of take you out the story a little bit, or do you think it was a welcome break to have something else going on?
I didn't mind that stuff with Bell and stuff. I think it was just predictable. That was also. So when she arrives on this planet, which I think was called, it begins with a P, I think, Pisano. When she arrives on Pisano and this guy's really excited, you could see that it was almost like, they borrowed from other stuff. So this is like the the story towards the end of Tennant's run with the Master, Derek Jacobi's Master. What was that story?
What, Utopia?
Utopia. It was almost like that, where there's this kind of just that, there's this salvation that's coming, this utopia that they're all going to. They're going to be saved, sort of thing.
Yeah. And
you can see what's coming though. So when Azure turns up with Passenger, that they're all going to get zapped and be carried prisoner within Passenger and stuff and all that. So it was okay, just a bit predictable, but it was not too bad. And then we then saw Vinder pop up a little bit later. But that was cool that they had that sort of this mid credits thing that was very cinematic. We normally see that at the end of films.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest, because
it was pointless, mate.
Yeah, but also it was such a strong cliffhanger. Like, I mean, we will talk about that in a sec, I'm sure, but such an amazing cliffhanger, a real, OMG. I mean, when we were in the pub, even though we couldn't hear what was going on, we all looked at each other because we could see visually, the Doctor, spoilers, guys, by the way, Doctor turns into a weeping angel. We were like, oh, what the frick? We were going mad. So it's such an amazing cliffhanger. And I've got to be honest, if that was me as the showrunner or director or whatever, I would have said, run. It just seems you want to leave that in people's minds. That's the image you want to leave people with, because that's going to make you want to come back next week. So I'm really surprised that they then shoved in that weird post-credit scene, which then sort of takes you away from it. I just thought it was a really odd thing to do. But I like the stuff with the music, being all weird as well.
The glitchy stuff. There?
Yeah, the music was all weird, and then you got the post-credit scene, whatever you want to call it, was it was pointless. It was just Vinder. It felt like a deleted scene or a scene that they didn't have time to put in, or I don't know. It's just oddly placed, and I didn't quite get it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's because they just want to keep that story thread. They just want to keep that in your mind, sort of thing. So as you're going through each episode, it's like, right, okay, don't forget, guys. Vinder and Bell, they're still searching for each other and they're still doing this thing. So I know you've just seen this amazing cliffhanger, but forget about that. We've still got Vinder and Bell who are, doing their thing. And it was pointless, mate. That's just next time trailer stuff. That's all that is.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. I was going to say, how invested are you in the Bell and Vinder story?
At the moment, kind of. I'm just hoping there's a decent payoff there. I'm hoping that when they do finally meet and everything's hunky-dory and baby's born, that this baby turns out to be something cool that's not canon busting like The Timeless Child, but cool as in that's their baby turns out to be that character. That's awesome. So I'm but it's slowly losing its traction a little bit for me.
Yeah. I think the thing is I like Bell, and I think Vinder's okay. So I'm like you. I'm pretty invested in it, but not as much as I feel I should be. And I think the reason for that is just because that story thread is kind of getting a bit lost because there's so much else going on. And again, maybe this is down to it being 6 instead of 8 parts, but I think that storyline is just getting a little bit lost. Hence why we have to have these little weird scenes keep popping up to, like you just said, remind us, don't forget about Bell and Vinder, because if that scene hadn't been there, would you have been thinking about Bell and Vinder at all? No,
not really.
No. So yeah, I guess that's the whole point. It's there, but I just thought it was weird. You got such a great cliffhanger. I would have just left it there. I would not have thrown that in after to then distract people from what was an amazing cliffhanger.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Totally. And we already had some of the progression with that story. We're seeing Bell meet up with Namaka and on Pisano and that whole thing. We've already had that. I'm looking for this person. Have you seen him? And that kind of thing. And then so we kind of had a little bit of progression anyway. We already know that Bell's made another step to another planet. She hasn't found him, so she's off again. And we already had that. If they were going to do something, having decided to do something quite experimental with Who anyway, with the mid-credit scene and the glitchy stuff like that, that could have been used for something else. That could have been used to tease something that might have been coming up in the next 2 eps to close out the series maybe. And it was like, that's not So the purpose of the next time trailer is to get you in that sort of hyped up mood, like I can't wait for next week. Whereas that cheeky little mid-credits thing could have been used to who's that then? Or what's happening there? But it was just a pointless, like you said, it felt very much like a special feature on the Blu-ray. That's a deleted scene.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
Yeah.
I just looked at my notes as well. I forgot that Jodie actually says reverse polarity of the neutron flow, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's cool.
Which kind of cool. Yeah.
That's always like reversing the polarity. Yeah. What did you think to Kevin McNally then, Professor Jericho? Because he's quite a cool character, isn't he? He was fairly strong and was just one of those old school characters that was written pretty well, to be fair. And I think Kevin McNally played that very well.
Yes. I liked him. I thought he was really good. I really liked his performance as well, and it was really bugging me. I knew he'd been in Doctor Who before, and I was like saying to the other guys, "What Doctor Who was he in?" And of course, it's one of the old classics, isn't it? It's I've forgotten it. Twin Dilemma, is it? Twin Dilemma he was in, and he looks completely different in that. He's the guy who wears the sparkly top, and
of course, yeah,
he's in that.
Back in '84, Hugo Lang.
Yes, it.
Twin Dilemma,
So yeah, he's in that. I just thought he was really cool. And he's one of those characters I love to see in Doctor Who. And he reminded me a little bit of the character from The Curse of Fenric, the guy played by Dinsdale Landon, Dr. Judson. You remember how he's just so into his experiments that he's just like, he's not a bad guy, Jericho. He's not a baddie. He's just fascinated by what he does, and he wants to get answers. And I thought it was a really nice performance from him as well. I was rooting for him for most of the episode, but I like the fact he was like, when he was doing the experiments and stuff, he's pushing it to the limit. He doesn't want to kill Diane, but he really wants answers and stuff like that. So yeah, he's a good character. I liked him.
He was good, yeah. And what do you think to Diane then? Because we finally get an answer as to why she's here in the first place, because she popped up in the first episode and she was surprised to see the Doctor. Now we know why. We know she wasn't meant to see the Doctor until this time period. So yeah, she was kind of cool. I liked I did like Annabelle Scully. So she did an interview with the Radio Times the other day, and it was quite funny because she said she really obviously enjoyed working on Doctor Who, but she also commented, like a lot of actors do, that there was this real big veil of secrecy that you weren't allowed to talk about. You weren't allowed to ask who the next Doctor is, who it's going to be, if they've got any plans for who's going to replace Jodie. She wasn't allowed to ask that. There was this big, she had to sign 100 different NDAs and contracts and stuff to say that she'd never discuss some of the behind the scenes things, and she wasn't allowed to talk about certain things. And so they've really, as we've come to expect from the Chibnall era, everything is locked down to the nth degree, and she's not allowed to say anything. But I thought she was okay, actually. I think she was I'm not sure if I'm satisfied that this character, who was like this cool little mysterious nugget of something in the first episode, is turned out to just be, a carrier for a rogue angel. I'm not sure if I don't know, are we going to see Claire again? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked Claire, and I just realised, unless I'm getting confused, have I been calling Claire Diane? Because I think I may have got those characters mixed up.
We probably both have, mate.
Yeah, I may have been saying Diane when I meant Claire, so apologies. But Diane's the one that Dan's trying to date, isn't it? Yes. Claire's the one that's been sent back time, right? Anyway, I thought it was a good performance from her. I like the stuff on the beach when she's got the angel, because she just looks, really sort of helpless and terrified. And I thought she gave a good performance. Yes. So I don't know if we'll see her again. She may have just been thrown in just for this setup. I don't know. But,
well, we probably will. I mean,
yeah,
she somehow has to get back to current time to see the Doctor in.
Oh, that's true.
In Liverpool.
Yeah.
So she must be rescued somehow, or she must be returned to her current time. I'm not sure.
This has got to be this is going to take the record for the most timey-wimey. So, this is Chibnall's waiting for the award, isn't he? He's like, I've outdone Moffat here with this one.
Yeah. Moffat's like, either to my detriment or to my praise, I did some pretty sweet timey-wimey stuff. Chibbers is like, hold my drink.
I was just going to say, yeah, hold my drink.
Let me get a notepad out. Let's watch this. What do you think to this then?
Well, we'll see who takes that crown by the end of the series. But yeah, he's certainly going for it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Right. Have I got anything else to talk about? So Mandip Gill and John Bishop, their performance. I'm still not.
What? He's still not.
I'm still not decided on whether I think Yaz is cool in this series so far.
No,
because in the previous two, she was always the one that you could rely on to bring either a mix of humour, strength, and a little bit of gumption, a bit of common sense to things when Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole were just looking bored in the background. She was the one that they normally wrote in to sort of do some cool stuff. However, in this, I think she's still doing that. She's still cool, but they can't seem to ditch this nagging, moany tone that she seems to have developed in this series.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So it feels like she's not invested in. It's not until she gets zapped back to 1901, then she starts to sort of get a little bit of togetherness. She starts to like, right, okay, Dan, we need to do this. Don't worry, we need to do that. Before that, though, it feels like, and in previous episodes in this series as well, she's not really invested in the job at hand. It feels like she's always preoccupied with nagging at the Doctor to try and get the Doctor's thoughts on this, or her history, and why the TARDIS is acting weird because it must lead back to what's wrong with the Doctor, and the Doctor's being a bit secretive and she's not happy. It's like she's got this agenda. She won't let it go. Like she's naggy, and I can't seem to decide if that's okay. Like, yeah, whatever, or if it's just turning me off. I'm not sure, but she was okay. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I think what's happened is they've thought to themselves, right, we're carrying the character of Yaz over into the next series. We need to, we need to progress this character. We need to do something with it because, like you said, she's a bit of a sort of one-dimensional in series 11 and 12 and stuff. So we're going to, round this character out. And what they've done is they've tried to harden her up and make her a bit more confident and in charge. But by doing that, they've taken away the softness and the stuff we like about Yaz, and they've just made her a bit annoying. And so I still like Yaz, but they need to. It's all well and good her bursting in a room and taking charge and trying to be like the Doctor, but you've got to have that soft, likable side as well, which they seem to be forgetting to write. So they're just writing her as someone that goes in and nags and tries to be like the hard nut, but then it doesn't really work. Yeah, we need to see you need to have the warmer side coming through to make it a fully rounded character. You can't just have them as this miserable person moaning all the time in the TARDIS.
Well, I think they're trying to do that. I think they're trying to get the point.
Working, though.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get the point across that Yaz cares a lot about the Doctor.
Yeah,
and this might lead into this kind of relationship attraction thing a little bit, but I think they're trying to get across that she cares a lot about the Doctor. So as a result of that, she wants to make sure she's all right and get some honesty out of her, and and all that stuff. But it's just not being executed very well. She's coming across as the naggy one, essentially.
A little bit Rose Series 2, isn't it?
A little bit. Yeah, she's still cool though. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to trash her.
She's
Mandip Gill's a great actor and a great actress, and her character is still cool. It's just a little bit naggy. And then John Bishop, still very good. Still very, very good.
He didn't get an awful lot to do this episode, but he was good with what he did get to do, I thought.
I think so, yeah. And I think it will be interesting to see what happens with those two in the next one, Survivors of the Flux, because the promo images from that episode, which does look really interesting, by the way, because Kate's back and Unit's back. And
Kate, that was a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the Ood. We've got an Ood next week. But Daz and Yan, I think for the most part of next week, they're still stranded in 1901. But they've done themselves up in like period costume and, and so I think those two are going to have to team up a lot more. So we'll see what happens with Yaz's character next week, whether she still has this pining sort of, we need to find the Doctor because, I need to make sure she's okay and everything. and Dan just follows, or whether they have a bit more of a, let's focus on what we're doing now. Let's forget about the Doctor for a bit. We've got a job to do. Let's see where that goes. But John Bishop's still good, though. Just not a lot to do again.
Yeah, John Bishop's good. I think they just need to inject a little bit of fun into Yaz, don't they? That's what it's missing. She's good and we're on her side, but they need to have a little bit more fun with those two, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with John Bishop as well. Let's not lose that spark that he's had in the first couple of episodes, like with the whole... That one of the great things about his character so far has been the hilarious dynamic with Carvanista and the whole, walking around with a wok as a weapon against the Centaurans and all that stuff. That was all great stuff. So hopefully they don't lose that spark, that coolness, and that did dampen down a little bit in this one for me from
Definitely.
Dan.
Yeah,
he was more sort of observational. Just like, what's that scarecrow over there? That wasn't there, was it? And what's going on there? And why is it nighttime? And why is that there? So, fingers crossed they don't lose that spark and stuff.
Agreed.
Yep. Anything else on your notes, Birdie?
No, not really. I mean, we've gone through the cast and stuff, and I know what I was saying about Jodie earlier. Just a bit disappointed in her performance, and I just want to round that off by saying that the reason I'm saying that is because I really think this would have been a great episode for Jodie to shine. I think this was it had enough going on. I know I enjoyed the episode more than you, but for me, it was a good story, and it was a real chance for Jodie to really nail that performance. And she's been she's been really good the last couple of weeks. And I think that's when I say I was disappointed in her, or disappointed in the way she was written and performed. That's why I think this is she could have really brought this episode up, I think, if she'd have put in a performance. Like we very often said, like with Matt Smith, he just delivered the most amazing performance. If you imagine putting someone like him in there in this story, it would have elevated it massively. And I really wanted to see Jodie do that. And that's why I was critical of her performance earlier, because I think she did the absolute opposite, which is a real shame. So, God, I hope she's back to being... Well, is she even going to be in next week? What's going to happen? Is it going to be a Dr. Light episode or what? We don't know. But
yeah, because the cliffhanger was great. Let's not forget that.
What was your face when that happened? What was your reaction when you saw her turn into an angel?
Yeah, like jaw on the floor for a few seconds. It was like, oh crap.
Yeah, it's an amazing cliffhanger. Oh, one just quick thing as well. We talked a lot about the the production and terrible CGI of last week's episode, and there was a particular friend of mine that was giving me a lot of grief about that. At LFCC, he was like, "Oh, you were moaning about it." I said, "Yeah, it looked terrible." This week, pretty good, but back to being much more like the first two episodes in terms of good production values, I thought. But what was going on with those wings when Claire looks in the mirror? They will look terrible. It's like every week there's got to be at least one scene where the CGI is just like they forgot to finish that bit. Oh, damn, we missed the scene in the mirror. But no, overall, the episode I thought was back to looking good production values again, I thought, this week.
I think so. On the mostly. Whole, yeah. I think mostly because they didn't have to rely on visual effects to accomplish a lot of it. A lot of it was physical lighting and all that sort of stuff, which is cool. But the two effects that I thought were really good was when the angel zapped Gerald and Jean, and when they sort of disintegrated in front of people. That looked very cool. And then the bit where they got to the edge of the village and you just saw space and all that stuff, that was very cool. But yeah, the wings in the bathroom, a little bit like nip down to the pound shop, just get a set of angel wings and we'll paint them or do something with them and you can wear them. It was a bit...
Something looked a bit ropey there. I'll tell you what, the fireplace angel looked brilliant though, and the angel coming out of the TV I thought looked really good. So there was some good stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed, dude.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, okay, scores and adores. I think it's me to go first.
You go first.
I'm going to give this dude a respectable 7 out of 10.
Alrighty. Yeah. I'm going to go with 7.5.
Oh, 7.5, okay.
Yeah, I thought it's weird. Watching it without the sound, I thought this was going to be an 8.5 easily. It looked like such a good episode, but when we added the sound on and Jodie blah, 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 blabbing all over it just went down. So 7.5 for me.
Yeah, cool. I think in the setup was really good. In the first 10, 15 minutes, I thought, crikey, we could be on for like an 8, 9 out of 10 here. This could be a cracking, but it's just a bit of a missed opportunity to keep the angels mysterious. I think we've gone over the line a little bit. that makes them mysterious, and just too much as well. Needed a bit slower pace. Ironically, we've said for the last few years that it's some episodes didn't reach the high enough gear. They were stuck in third or fourth gear and didn't quite get there. Whereas now it's like, whoa, I don't want to be in top gear throughout the entire thing. So there we go. You can't please everyone, I suppose. But on to our listeners then. Again, we had a bunch of you sending your audio reviews. So thank you very much to Seb Lane, Martin Arnold, Will Sanger, Lewis Palmer, Toby Coleman, Neil Campbell and Joe Turner. Thank you so much for your audio reviews. We're going to play them now. So what did these guys think?
Village of the Angels. Well, for the first 20 minutes of this episode, I was slightly underwhelmed. However, the last 35 to 40 minutes was magnificent. It really felt like a classic Who story. I thought it was really well paced. Both the main and supporting cast were on fire, especially of Professor Jericho, who felt like a traditional classic Who character, and I loved the mystery of Claire and her significance. I thought the production was once again fantastic, and they nailed the spooky era atmosphere. I thought the child actor playing Penny was dreadful. She was expressionless and a bit bland, but that's the risk you take with child actors. The fact that these angels were members of the division was really cool, and I love that they are hunting one of their own who is hiding in Claire. It shows how good Chris is at writing returning villains, yet I do think you can tell the difference between when Chibnall writes the Angels and when Moffat writes the Angels. Yes and Dan didn't get an awful lot to do, but they were good with what they were given. The Next Time trailer seems to suggest that they stay at Notting Hill over 3 years. Thus it'll be interesting to see how Yazzie reacts to being without a Doctor for that length of time, considering she struggled with 10 months in Revolution. I love the sequence where the Angels attack the Doctor, Claire and Jericho in the basement, but it felt like Chibnall was using the same old stuff that Moffat had used. Finally, that cliffhanger was spectacular. Visually it was impeccable, and the best of all, I definitely did not see it coming. It's definitely up there with one of the best cliffhangers in all of Who. It was amazing. So, I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. And by the way, I can't wait to see Kate Lethbridge do it next week. Thank you.
Hi, Mo from France here. Well now, that was more like it. After last week's absolute joke of an episode, we get back to some real storytelling, only highlighting the filler waste of space nature of the previous outing. I'll be honest, when I saw the episode title, it gave me pause. Undoubtedly, the Weeping Angels are just about the best thing to come out of New Who, but truth be told, they've been desperately overused and have become increasingly underpowered. Not anymore. With a fright factor that really pushed the limits of what is acceptable at prime time, they surely would have scared the living bejesus out of all but the hardiest of little kiddywinkles. The guest cast shone, and there were some truly inspired moments. The polygraph printing off the image of the angel being the highlight of the bunch. Well done, Chris. This is what we want to see. And might it be churlish to suggest that he should make use of a co-writer more often? Perhaps they're the ones doing all of the heavy lifting imagination-wise. If the last 2 episodes were of this quality, Flux will have been a success. If we return to the dross of last week's efforts, time to switch off. Very, very good. And that ending, wow. Best moment since the TARDIS was unearthed in Fugitive of the Jadoon. I'd give this a solid 9 out of 10. Alors, ça suffit. Je parti. À bientôt, mes amis. Ça, c'est mieux.
Hello to the Big Blue Box podcast. I didn't give a review for Once Upon Time because I was away with work, but I really enjoyed that as well, and Flux is shaping up to be just the best Doctor Who thing in years. And Village of the Angels, yeah, no exception. Really great stuff, great ideas at play here, great performances all round. The Angels really, really well utilised within the setting. They were shot beautifully. And that cliffhanger, like, how the hell are we going to get out of this? Like, this is what an incredible image to end the episode on. I can just imagine Mary Whitehouse now, you know, that gets left in your mind for a whole week, in the mind of a child. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, this Flux is just brilliant. It's bold and daring and brilliant and flawed, but I'm really loving it. So yeah, see you next time, guys.
You know, it's really tough keeping this under 60 rels, but honestly, everything I've recorded has just become so angry that I have to try again. This is awful. The setup was really promising, this sort of spooky invasion of the Weeping Angels, but then it just gets bogged down in a load of incoherent rubbish, plot holes that make no sense. It's inconsistent with its own internal logic. The Angels are witnessed almost constantly, and when they're not, they don't do anything. The whole thing of blink, don't look, which is the only thing the Doctor says in this episode, is just completely ignored, really. They all look and then they don't look, and then the angels just appear in the fireplace because a picture magically redraws itself. I mean, good grief. Time of Angels does this 1,000 times better, with more pathos, more tension. This is amateur. It's just style over substance. The Division still don't know who they are and still don't care. My chain is being yanked by a writer who's getting high on the smell of his own farts. I'm going to leave it here because otherwise I'm just going to bring the tone down. 4 out of 10. I gave last week's a 3. This was better, but honestly, the bar is now so low. This is the worst series of Doctor Who I've honestly ever seen, and I feel sad that Jodie had to be part of this absolute nonsense. It's a real shame.
What about you fellas? So, Village of the Angels, this was much, much better. Last week's episode was an absolute shambles. This week's was much, much better. I actually would go as far to say it's probably the best episode under the Chris Chibnall era. I'm convinced by that. There was loads of new concepts that were really good. The cliffhanger was also very good. You know, the idea of the Weeping Angels chasing after another Weeping Angel was class, I thought. Like I said, the way the angel did a deal with the other angels to give them the Doctor, that was class. Professor Jericho was class. The idea of an angel living inside somebody's head was class. You know, it was really, really good. I actually think the story would have been better had the whole Flux, Vinder, Bell, Timeless Child arc not been mentioned in this at all. It would have been better as a standalone episode. It was very, very good, but I hate the Timeless Child arc, and I don't know what the hell they're going to do. And I have a few theories in my head, and I'm really worried they're going to go down that route, and if they do, it could be catastrophic. But that's a story for another day. If they hadn't mentioned the whole Bell, Vinder thing and stuff, I'd give this an 8, but I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Cheers.
Hello, Gary and Adam. So this week it's Village of the Angels. I'm pleased to say that I didn't hate it as much as I did last week. Last week was the lowest of the low for me, and I'd be very surprised if any episode can get that low again. I enjoyed Village of the Angels. I think it's a very solid story, to be honest. The angels were portrayed very well. I think Chibnall actually knows what he's doing with the whole concept of the angels. It had some just great ideas in it anyway, like the image of an angel becomes an angel. I'm really glad that was reinforced. It was just a good episode. I liked Professor Jericho. I liked the side cast. I think they were all very good. John Bishop and Mandip Gill were good. Jodie was a little bit weak in this episode, I found. Some of her lines were a bit cringy, like the Scrabble for Jericho's name. It was just a bit odd in some places, but on the whole I found myself enjoying it, so I'd give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. See you next week.
Hello, and here's my review for Village of the Angels. I thought this was a brilliant story. First of all, the bit with Bell and Vinder, that side story was functional, it was good. But the stuff with the angels themselves was brilliant. I loved the effects of the fire angel and the angels jumping on the screen, even though I thought the statues themselves looked a bit cheap and not as good as they have done in the past. But that's just my nitpick. Another my nitpick is that you can't be touched by an angel twice. Tell that to Rory, who got zapped back at least 3 times in Angels Take Manhattan. But oh well. Overall, I'd say that actually it was brilliant, and I guess the twist with Peggy quite early on. But the effects in this episode were amazing, from the old couple being reduced to stone to the, spoiler alert, majorly impressive effect of the Doctor being turned into an angel. This just blew my mind. So I'd say this has definitely been the best episode of the series so far, and I can't wait to see what is next with the Division, the Weeping Angel. How will they get out of this? So next week, Ood and Kate Stewart by the looks of things. See you then. Bye.
Village of the Angels was a really great episode and a really good continuation of Flux. I had strong hopes because it was co-written by Maxine Alderson, who wrote my favourite story of the 13th Doctor era with the Horseman and Villa Diodati. This is the best Weeping Angels have been used since Blink, using their basic mechanics to essential scares and thrills, with an angel coming out of the TV screen and emerging from a drawing. has very dark and sinister vibes with an isolated village with the characters trapped in one house in one lone location, and the idea of a fugitive weeping angel is just great. I did think the plot with a little girl with Dan and Yaz didn't have much impact, and there were some plot issues, but I'll reserve judgment as they might get tied up later on. I thought Jodie Whittaker was great and one of her best performances, and the cliffhanger was simply amazing. The best episode so far in this storyline. I really liked it.
Pretty much really good score. So I think my views on it were a bit of an unpopular opinion this week, other than Martin Arnold. Martin did not like this one.
No.
Again, Martin's not feeling the last couple of episodes, but everyone else, some really good scores. So thank you so much for taking the time to do your audio stuff. I appreciate it as always. We're going to rattle through a few of these on the socials then. So over on Twitter, DSG, D Gibbons 02 says, just when I was walking away, they dragged me back in. As a standalone episode, this was a cracker 9 out of 10. It may be a symptom of how bad some Chibnall episodes have been, but this is the best one in 3 seasons. Sam says, absolutely loved it. Favourite ep of this era, beautiful visuals and a truly gripping story. Only real gripe was with the focus on Belle and Vinda taking away extra angel time, but still a 9 out of 10.
9, okay.
Tin and Sonic, I enjoyed it for the most part. I think having the angels speak less is much scarier. The tunnel scene was really good and the cliffhanger was great. Also, the end credits theme was really spooky. 7 out of 10.
It was. Yeah.
The Proctor Who podcast. Thanks, guys. Say, I've only watched it once so far, and although I did enjoy it, I'm a little confused as to what actually happened. But I will record my review for my podcast after I watch it a couple more times. So hopefully then it'll make more sense to me. But first impressions are good. Thumbs up. I think that's Mark from Proctor Who.
Yes.
Our writer, Jordan Shortman, says, absolutely fantastic. The Weeping Angels were terrifying once again. They benefited from being away for a while. And there was some terrific imagery like Claire with the angel wings and the Doctor becoming one. The outer space stuff did bog the story down, but the rest was brilliant. Interesting, Jordan. Cool. Okay. Star Whovian says, after 3 years of dross, this was the first episode in the Chibnall era that truly felt like Doctor Who. I liked pretty much all the new characters and the Weeping Angels were terrifying. Only issue I have are the Belle scenes and Jodie's performance still being a bit naff. 8 out of 10 though.
Yeah.
Courier of Who says, I would say it's the best Angel episode since Blink. Jodie was superb. 9 out of 10.
Jodie was superb. What?
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
Thank you very much. Marco Bricks UK says, some of the stuff outside of the Weeping Angels was a bit meh, but the stuff with them was awesome. Love the scientist guy's work. And after last week, this episode has pulled me back in. I originally gave it a 7.5, but have had more time to digest. It's upgraded to an 8.
Okay.
Nice. Chippy T says, visually stunning, the village cut off by space, the creepy cellar, angel hands in the tunnel walls, black and white windswept beach scenes, the amazing fiery angel. If people like the idea of pre-Hartnell Doctor or not, the idea of the division is fantastic. Top performances, 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Interesting. Very much, Chippy T. Morgan, our good friend Morgan says, sheer brilliance. They nailed the creepy horror vibe. The angels were terrifying again. Kevin McNally was just great as Professor. And wow, that cliffhanger. RTD has to get Maxine Alderton on board as a regular. 8 quantum extractions out of 10.
Nice one.
Quantum extractions. Another one of our writers, Matt Steele, says, wow. Village of the Angels was damn near perfection. Jodie was on fire, as was the rest of the cast. My favourite outing of the Weeping Angels by far. I'm currently struggling to think of a better cliffhanger than this one. 9.5 out of 10. Keep them coming, Chibbers.
It was a good cliffhanger.
Yeah, sure. Great score by Matt. Yeah. Lastly on Twitter, Sarah Louise, a running Whovian, says, loved it. This episode is exactly what Doctor Who should be. A terrifyingly exciting pulse raiser delivered with a great cast. Half a point off for overuse of the Sonic, though. A 9.5.
A pulse racer. That's a great phrase, that is. I'm going to use that. Having that one.
That was Twitter. Thank you very much, guys, for your tweets. Over on Facebook, I'm going to rattle through some of these because they're a bit long, just give you the headlines. But Aaron Ball says, a very good story, scary, added to the mystery, gave us answers that I really enjoyed and like that Who is making me care again. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10,
Another
wow.
9. Joseph Howarth says, I like this. I like the episode. It felt much like an RTD episode. It was genuinely intense, creepy atmosphere and had me on the edge of my seat. He goes on to give it an 8 out of 10.
Cool.
Kyle Walker says, got to say I'm enjoying this season. This is the best in 2 years. Can't wait for next week. Jeff Waddle says, even the best stories, such as the rat in Talons, have something that you would change. I can't think of a single thing that I would improve in this episode.
Wow.
More jump scares than many modern horror films. Arguably the best episode since the show's return. And certainly with the best cliffhanger. Certainly can't remember thoroughly enjoying 4 episodes in a row of New Era before. Outstanding by all.
Do you think Jeff's been hacked?
Could be. Yeah, this is a 180 on his thoughts previously, isn't it? Yeah. Glad you're liking it though, Jeff. Good stuff. Simon Ascuri says, modern Who like classic Who. Reconfirmed in this episode that Doctor Who is often at its best when it's set in the past. This series, Jodie is being her own Doctor, not the strange Tennant/Smith impression she's done in the last 2. It goes on to give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow, cool.
For this Chibnall era, yeah, very cool. Mark Hugill says, loved all the parts with the Doctor, Jericho and Claire against the Weeping Angels. So much tension and drama. The Belvinder sections felt like the courtroom scenes from Trial of a Time Lord. A bit tiresome, but reminded the viewer we were still watching a bigger linked story. That's very true. It's exactly what it feels like. Thank you, Mark. Anyway, Mark goes on to give that a 9 out of 10. Rob Kernock, feeling mixed on this one. Too much Sonic. Lots of exposition again from the Doctor. Some dodgy CGI. But enjoyed the Angels and the cliffhanger was awesome. 6.5.
Yeah, still lots of exposition. I forgot to say that. I noticed that as well. Still haven't ironed that out. Unbelievable.
Cheers, Rob. Charlie Turner, and I thought that the Centauran part was good. This one blows it out of the water. I loved it for the most part. It's not perfect, but it's improvement over last week any day. How is the Doctor going to get out of this one? Time will tell. It always does. Baz Warrington. It has some of the same writing issues, particularly the dialogue that the Chibnall era has, but it was a corker nonetheless. My kids loved it, and I guess that's what it's all about. Gordon Hudson says this season has issues, but at least I cared about it. For the first time in years, I've been determined to tune in and not missing anything. You could tell 2 people wrote it. First part was more like a dramatised novel. Second part was a true TV drama. Shades of the Damons too. You said that, dude.
Yeah, I felt that. There's a bit of the Damons in there, yeah.
Yes, and David Paul Morgan says, what a superb use of the Angels. Continued use of their mythos. The use of the village cut off from the world gave me real Damon's vibe again. I'm loving the interconnectedness of the characters with the division. I'm also loving the return of a traditional cliffhanger with a proper resolution. Quite a long review, goes on to give it an 8 out of 10, says David.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Indeedy. So thank you very much, as always, you lot, for getting in touch, whether it's an audio review or you're commenting over on the socials. I think I'm against the grain on this one, dude. I think
we both are a bit there. If you think about it, I think our scores are probably the lowest. No one went under an 8, did they? Or we
had a couple of
certainly
sixes.
We're certainly the lower end of the thoughts on this one, I think. But yeah, it's cool though. Even a bad episode in this series has been better than what we've had previously. So I'm like most people, I'm still quite invested in this series, which is good.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought it was good. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, on that note then, dude, to wrap up 333, not 330,
Yeah.
we all know, but what we're going to review next week.
Yeah, so this sounds interesting. It's called Survivors of the Flux. So not really sure what to expect from this one. You know, like this week we knew it was Angels. Survivors of the Flux. Don't know. I know Carvin Insta's back.
He is, indeedy.
Yeah, but on Kate's back.
Kate's
so we've got
back.
Unit. So that's, should be quite a good one, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be it needs to be, because it's the penultimate one of the series. I think it needs to be I think the cliffhanger's more important than ever on next week.
Oh, yeah.
Defo. So we'll see what happens, dude. But cool. Let's wrap it there, dude, for 333.
Alrighty.
Thank you, our dear listener, for coming back and listening to another week of the Big Blue Box podcast. That has been episode 333. Thank you so much to those of you that have sent in your reviews, whether that's you've taken the time to do the audio stuff, is much appreciated, or if you've replied on Twitter or Facebook. It's always awesome to see what you guys are thinking about the episodes. So thank you very much for that. As Adam said, next week we're on the penultimate one, Chapter 4. No, sorry, Chapter 5. It's Chapter 5, isn't it? Yeah, Chapter 5.
Yeah.
Survivors of the Flux. So we'll see what the flux is going on with the Flux next week. Indeedy. Until then, remember to listen to all of our episodes for free in whatever podcast app you prefer to listen to your podcasts in. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast. You'll see us in all the big popular ones there. Make sure you give us a follow so you don't miss a show when it lands every Friday. Or head over to the website. You can listen to them there as well, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can also read all of the reviews and articles from our writing team. So give those a read, and throw some love to the writers as well. They're all on Twitter. There's links to their Twitter accounts on the articles. So, they do a fabulous job, those guys. So, go and check those out as well. We are on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links on the website, or again, just do a search for us. You'll find us on there. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week, so come and get involved over there. Plus, we have a free Discord server as well. So come and sign up to that and chat lots of Doctor Who with other cool Who fans. Got a very cool community over there. So, lots of good chat over there. Remember to check out my co-host channel as well, over on YouTube. It is The Geek's Handbag.
The Geek's Handbag, yes. Plenty of vids on there and a few Christmassy ones, so get yourself in the mood. And I'm on all the socials.
Get yourself in mood for Christmas.
Get yourself in mood's coming. Yeah. You can't put it off, it's coming.
You can't. No. Adam is on the socials too. Check him out under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. As I said, we all chat Doctor Who throughout the week. So come and get involved. It's all good. Right, until next week then, for episode 334, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Allons-y.